all right, the top level menu. Now, when we talk about navigation, this menu in dotCMS, is going to show up for any page that incorporates the navigation code for dotCMS in it. And we talk about how to use navigation in the web developer course, but if you use any of the base templates that come with the dotCMS starter site, if you use those as a basis for your own templates, this is automatically going to be included. Now you can change how it's displayed. You could have the main menu be on a sidebar instead of on the top, or you could have it across the bottom. But dotCMS automatically handles the creation of this menu and all of the links in it just based on that show on menu checkbox and the items that you choose to check that box. This side nav also is something that exists as part of the page template. So if I go back here again and I look at this particular page, if you remember when I selected my page properties and I selected my template for the page, if I look at this templates, I have a choice of many different templates here, and I chose one specifically that has a side navigation. There are many other templates that do not have a side navigation. If I change this to, let's say, an Intranet 2 column, and I save and publish, all right, in this particular case, there's nothing on it because the Intranet page doesn't have much on it. All right, so I get my Quest Advisor here. So you'll see it's still got a menu up here, but this is put together in a different way. So it's using some different code, and things are going to show up different depending upon the template that we chose. So if I go back to my page properties, and I'm going to change this back here to the 2-column with side nav and save and publish. So in this particular template, it is automatically set up to generate a navigation on the side which shows you all of the content items below, or all of the siblings in whichever main area of the site you've selected. That's part of this template setup. Now there's, in terms of navigation, in addition to creating separate pages, you can also create links which will show up on your menu. So again, if I go here and I look at this training folder and I go and select on the right here, there is a menu link. I can add a new menu link. And when I add a menu link here, this allows me to create a link that will show up in my menu without creating a separate page. Now this link can link to another page on my site or another file on my site, or you can even create a menu link to a different site or something on another site. So for example, I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it simple here. All right, and you can select is an internal link, is an external link, is it a code link? So you can link to code that will then be executed to determine what's going to be displayed. I'm just going to do it as an internal link now, and I am going to do something very unimaginative here, and I'm just going to select the index page at the root of the site. All right, you can select your target again, same window, new window, etc. You can give it a sort order, and again, this sort order determines the order that things will show in the menu. And I'm going to select Show on Menu. All right, so fairly straightforward. I now have a menu link. If I go and refresh, now I've got my menu link. And if I click on my menu link, it actually takes me back to the home page. Now you'll notice that the URL is showing me the URL of the home page. This is not rewriting the URL for me when the user selects that link. It's just doing a redirect essentially to take me to that page. We're going to talk about vanity URLs later in the course, and vanity URLs are another feature in dotCMS which allow you to actually do either a redirect, regular redirect, or it will allow your users to access the same page from different URLs and have the URL that they access the page from be maintained in the browser URL. So we'll talk about URLs more later on in the course and what the value of those. But the Vanity URLs is another way that you can essentially redirect or have other URLs to access the same content in dotCMS. So let me talk about that a little bit more right now. So in the Vanity URLs, let me talk about the Vanity URLs. So under the Marketing tab, if you select Vanity URLs, in dotCMS, you can use the Vanity URLs to give you another link to any URL. This again, like the menu links, this can link to a URL on your site or a link to a URL on a different site. And how the URL displays to the user in the user's browser is going to depend on how you specify the Vanity URL. So again, if I look at the navigation here on my front end, let me go back to my training home here. I created a menu link here, all right, and I'm going to talk a little bit more. What actually happened here was it went to a different site, and I'm going to talk about why that happened, but let me go back here and look at my menu link again. So I'm going to go edit my menu link. And, all right. Actually, let me leave that one. So I'm going to go back now to the Vanity URL. So the menu link allows me to create a redirect, particularly if I want to, but it's really creating something that's going to show up on that front-end menu. So I have a front-end menu. When I create a menu link, it's going to show up here. I can also go with Vanity URLs. I can create a separate URL which users can access, which is going to redirect to any page on my site. So for example, if I go here and I go to the home here, and let's say I go to my, I'm going under the services, and I go to my first-time investors. Okay, so this is a particular page on my site, /services/first-time investors. All right. I want to create a link or a URL which is going to access this URL, but it's going to be shortened. So let's say, for example, you had a promotion that you wanted to run, and you wanted to direct users from an advertisement directly to a specific page on your site. But you want to make that URL something that's easy or something that's trackable. So let's say you're putting out advertisements in several different locations, and you want to track which of those advertisements your users click through to get to that particular site. Well, you could give each of those advertisements a different Vanity URL, and then they would all point to the same back-end page. And you can tell based on which of the URLs was clicked, which of those Vanity URLs was used, which ads those users got to your site from. So when we create a Vanity URL, I'm going to go here and I'm going to add a new Vanity URL. And the title is going to be my first-time investors. All right, the URL. Okay, this is the URL that users are going to use to access your back-end page that you want to get them to. All right, so this is what users are going to end up typing on the front end, or this is what you are going to use in your advertisements that are going to redirect to your back-end page. So let's say I just call it Invest Now. All right. Now the URL to redirect to is where I'm going to put the location that I want them to get to. All right, and I'm going to come back here and talk about this in a minute because there's two ways you can specify this. You can specify it as a relative path, okay, which is what I'm going to do now, or you can specify it as a fully qualified URL, you know, http://. I'm going to do it as a relative URL, and I'm going to save this. I'm just going to do this so I remember it and remember to type it. I'm going to copy that. So I'll save my Vanity URL. So now this is my first-time investors page, and I'm going to go back to the front end of my page here. And now I want to access that page using my Vanity URL. So now you'll see when I put this into the front end, dotCMS automatically redirects users to that same exact backend page that I was looking at. The difference is that they're now seeing it using the URL that they entered, not using the URL of the actual backend page. Now there are pros and cons to this. One is it's very nice. The users get to see the same URL that they typed in or that they were directed to from an advertisement or from some other location. But keep in mind that there is a challenge here that if you use this, any links that you click within this page will be referenced based on this URL, not based on the URL of the backend page. So if you're going to access a URL if you're going to access a backend page using a Vanity URL, then you need to be more careful about how you reference the URLs within that page. And you must make sure that any URLs you have within that page that link to another section of your site or another piece of content in your site reference from the root of your site, not from the location where that page is. All right. Now, I'm going to go back and change this Vanity URL. So I'm going to go edit this again. And this time I'm going to change this. And I'm going to reference it using the full path. All right, so the exact same location, I'm going to reference it using the full path. So now if I go back and I type it in again, I did not put in my domain. That was my error. So let's go back here and look at this again. All right, and what I actually need to do here is put in the URL of my site, 7.150/. Got that right? Okay, that looks right. All right, so let's try this one more time. All right, so now you'll see that it took me to the same page, so the Vanity URL worked the same, but this time it rewrote the URL for me. So when you use a Vanity URL, you want to make sure that you choose how you specify the URL. This redirect URL is going to determine whether or not that URL gets rewritten in the user's browser or not. Okay. All right, so that's navigation. That's talking about menu links, Vanity URLs, and using the show in menu item